Welcome to Hometown Banknotes, where economy, bank life, and hometown spirits meet. I am your host, Janice Spooner, a local banker and proud community advocate. On this show, we will share conversations that connect dollars to decisions and people to purpose. At NBT Financial Bank, we're rooted in community, growing your financial future, and this podcast brings that mission to life. Whether you're a business owner, a neighbor, or just curious about what makes our local economy tick, this is the space for you. Remember, at NBT Financial Bank, we're more than just your bank, we're your partner in progress. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Hometown Banknotes. I'm Janice Spooner, Regional President for NBT Financial Bank. As we celebrate America's 250th anniversary, it's an appropriate time to reflect on the people, the businesses, and the communities that continue to shape our country's future. Every generation has faced its own challenges and its own opportunities. Today's headlines might look different, but those are still the basics of where we are and what we're facing each day, and it's important that we face it together. Whether we're talking about families, businesses, nonprofits, entire communities, lasting success is built through thoughtful planning, perseverance, intentional leadership, and even a willingness to continue investing during uncertain times. You've heard me say before, if this is the right time for you and the decisions that you need to face, just be informed and move forward. That's exactly what we will explore today. We'll begin with our American national economics, just as we always do. But before we get into that, I want to share just a moment about our guest, Lisa Hiser Harrington, founder and business coach of Abiding Strategies. She's joining us today for a conversation about intentional leadership, strategic planning, and building organizations that don't simply grow, but grow with purpose. If you've been following the headlines, the news, however you may get your data, you've probably noticed that America's economy continues sending a mixture of both encouraging signs and ongoing challenges. Inflation has moderated significantly from the highs we've experienced over the past several years, but it remains above the Federal Reserve's long-term target. While many prices have stabilized, we each still feel some pain and suffering in those costs that haven't, such as groceries. There are still families still struggling today because of the higher cost of the expenses and elevated borrowing expenses. The labor market has remained remarkably resilient. Hiring has moderated from the extraordinary pace that we've experienced in the last few years, but hiring still continues. Businesses are still opening. Consumer confidence has also let's call it improved. Stabilized, maybe, depending on your perspective. But households and businesses continue making thoughtful decisions, just like we talk about spending and investing and planning for the future. One story business leaders continue to watch closely is the Federal Reserve. Earlier this year, Kevin Warsh became the new chair of the Federal Reserve. While leadership changes don't immediately alter monetary policy, markets are listening very carefully, as a matter of fact, on how the new chair will evaluate inflation, employment, and future rate decisions. Some really were hopeful that rates would continue to go down, but inflation has started to rise, and the Fed has even mentioned there could be rate hikes. So again, I go back to my previous statement. If you're needing and have planned to do something in your business or for your home, don't wait if you have prepared yourself for that change. One phrase you'll continue hearing is that the Federal Reserve remains data dependent. That simply means that policymakers evaluate a broad range of economic indicators before deciding whether interest rates should change or not. So what does all of this mean for us? The economy continues to demonstrate remarkable resilience despite the uncertainty. Businesses continue to adapt, Consumers continue adjusting, communities continue to invest, and that is so amazing. We see throughout Northeast Tarrant County and Texas. And those organizations that remain focused on thoughtful planning rather than reacting to every headline will likely be the ones best positioned for success. Now let's talk about Texas as we always do. Texas, I think a phrase that really resonates with me about where we live in this great state is that it was built for opportunity. Texas continues demonstrating why it remains one of America's strongest and most resilient economies, supported by innovation, infrastructure, workforce development, entrepreneurship, and long term investment. According to the Federal Reserve Bank of Dallas, our state's economy continues expanding. We see it across the state. According to the Federal Reserve Bank, we continue to grow, businesses continue to invest, and while growth has become more measured in recent years, confidence in Texas's long future remains remarkably strong. If you look, I'm just going to mention a few, but if you look at some of the industries that are here in North Texas, one of the greatest strengths is we have the diversity of energy, technology, healthcare, financial services, manufacturing, transportation, agriculture, construction, professional services. You can't drive 30 minutes without seeing most of these along the highway. No single industry defines Texas, and that's one of the reasons our state has remained resilient through challenging economic cycles, because we still have those even here. While facing higher financing costs and construction expenses have gone up, it has caused many projects to move more deliberately. Businesses continue making long-term investments because they believe in the opportunities Texas provides. You can see big chains really coming to North Texas. And, I'll have to say their decision to come here, the decisions of our small businesses, it isn't, I don't believe, luck. I believe it is truly intentional planning, and it is never by accident. It's succeeding because businesses, communities, educators, entrepreneurs, and leaders continue investing intentionally in the future. My passion for what I do and where I live and where I work, Northeast Tarrant County, that description to me is growth in motion. Those statewide trends that I just mentioned a moment ago become even more meaningful as we look right here at home. Northeast Tarrant County continues benefiting from one of the most strategic locations in the country. With DFW International Airport connecting our region to the world, continued growth along the Highway 114 corridor, and the continued growth and the strength of our established communities like Grapevine, Hurst, Keller, North Richland Hills, and Southlake, our region continues attracting businesses, investment, and talented people. I truly love working with the people and the companies that make up this region. I took the time as America's anniversary and the time that we have here in July to really reflect back on our roots for a moment. Fort Worth has long been recognized as one of America's premier manufacturing and aerospace centers, from defense and aviation to advanced manufacturing, precision machining, logistics, distribution, and that's just to name a few. Today, that foundation is being contemplated by continued investment throughout Northeast Tarrant County, from the growth surrounding the corridor that I just mentioned to our established mid-cities. It's here. There's redevelopment, there's growth, there's construction. Just look and find opportunities because they are around us. Those are exactly the kinds of businesses that NBT has long since served throughout our history. Our roots were in Fort Worth. We're going to talk about that towards our exciting end to this podcast. But just know it's the people, it's the entrepreneurs who we want to serve and make sure that those people can be successful. So whether it's a long established manufacturer supporting the aerospace industry or a local machine shop expanding its capabilities, a second generation businesses preparing for its next chapter, those are all types of businesses and leadership that you can find. But I will have to say, it comes back to the people. It comes back to the people that make up our communities, because without us, those wouldn't exist. And that brings us to Main Street. The Main Street that I never want us to lose sight of. Economic report tells us what's happening. Statistics tell us how much is happening, but they don't tell us why it matters. Behind every new business, every expansion, every commercial building, every manufacturing facility, and every job, it's the people or a team of people who make the decision to invest, to lead, and to believe in the future. That's what community banking is about. And one of the biggest lessons from today's economic snapshot is success doesn't happen by accident. It's built intentionally.
Amen.
And so that is exactly why I am so excited to welcome today's guest. Joining me today is Lisa Hiser Harrington, founder and business coach of Abiding Strategies. Lisa launched Abiding Strategies after moving to Texas in 2009, combining decades of leadership experience with a passion for helping businesses and owners build stronger organizations. Through strategic planning, leadership development, executive coaching, and organizational development, she's helped companies across a wide range of industries with purpose, and to not simply grow, but to grow bigger and better and with more intention. She's an accomplished author. She is a speaker. I've heard her speak. I've been a part of her coaching series before, and it's been amazing. And I feel so privileged to have you here today. So thank you for joining us on Hometown Banknotes.
Thank you for inviting me. It's been a fun time getting to know you and being a part of some of the community groups with you and working with your former company. It's been great, and I appreciate you inviting me.
Absolutely. So glad you're here. You know, my subscribers and viewers know that each of these guest features is with purpose to help our communities to grow in education and information. And so you were the perfect person to come join me at this time. Lisa, I know that you have helped many business owners over many, many years. And really, what have you found separates and helps truly those businesses succeed or maybe struggle? Take one of those approaches.
Yeah. So the reason I developed the system I use in Abiding Strategy is because I found that the personal aspect was just as important as the business systems. So the leader of the company has to be very self-aware. So at Abiding Strategy, there's three legs to the coaching stool. And the first one is self-awareness. So a leader who really understands who they are and how they react to things can manage their reactions a little bit better, because when a crisis comes, sometimes our emotions take over. So self-awareness is the first sort of linchpin in my coaching practice. The second thing that I find makes a successful leader is communication skills. We all can talk, but we can't all communicate. And sometimes the way we communicate doesn't connect with what somebody else is, how they listen, how they hear us. So I focus a lot on that. And then the third thing is stress management, because when we're stressed, the hormones in our brain are different. The way our blood flow is different. There's all kinds of things that sort of hijack our logical thinking. And so what we want to do is control that and manage those emotions and take a moment, take a deep breath, calm down. Owners of business, I mostly focus on founders, by the way. Most of my clients have started and own the business. But you know what? If they can just focus on those three elements and control themselves, they become a better leader to the rest of their people, and they demonstrate and model the right behavior for a leader.
Absolutely. That is so interesting to me. And I really try hard and diligently to deploy those thought processes myself, actually every day.
Yep. You have to redo every day.
Every day.
Yep.
And that's so interesting. But tell me, how did you get into business coaching? What made you decide?
Well, it was a long journey, I think. When I first got into insurance, which I did for 30 years, I found that those were my strengths, that I could help other people, that I could consolidate the information about how to do something. I was really good at building systems and processes and procedures. And then as I advanced in my career and got into the C-suite at several levels in several different companies, I realized that this was my passion, that helping the American business person who's trying to run a small business is the linchpin, the backbone of our economy. These people who have stepped out in faith and without fear to put all of their family's livelihood on the line and start their own business is really what runs this place. This is how we succeed as a country. And I wanted to do something to connect to all that. And I thought, well, I love people, I love speaking, I love teaching. And so I got certified as a coach, and I was already for about 9 years doing this as a side hustle. And I was teaching and doing strategy work, and I added the coaching element in 2018 because I just feel like that connection with a human is evergreen. Humans don't change that much. So the methodologies that I'm putting into place, they're going to last for a long, long time because our brains just haven't evolved all that much. So
That is such a wonderful story. I love hearing that. And from your perspective, I don't imagine a business owner just wakes up one morning and goes, "Oh, I need a business coach." So, what do you think, or what do businesses need to stop and think about to determine that?
So most of the time I end up starting my relationship with a business owner because of they are in some kind of transition, some change is happening. They've either just started their business and they really need that help with what do I do next, or they're in some addition phase, like they're adding a location, they're adding a product, they're adding people, they're growing to a point where they don't really know how to manage that. Sometimes they're at the end of their career and they're ready to start training someone to take over for them at some point in the future. And they need help with how do I do that? Who do I bring in? What should I look for? Should I promote from within? Should I hire somebody? Should I just sell the business? So I can work with every business owner. There are 7 stages, I call it, of business founder's life. And there's an article on my website, abidingstrategy.com, if anybody wants to read that. But it's those 7 points in their timeline where they look up one day and go, I don't know how to do this. Because we all know how to do what we do. So you know how to be a banker. I know how to teach a class. A shoemaker knows how to make shoes. Sometimes the running of the business, that's a whole different skill set. And that's why we joke that the shoemaker's kid never has shoes, because they're running their business and helping all their customers, but maybe they're not helping themselves. And I think that's one of the times when people say, you know what, I need some help. Let me find someone I trust. 'Cause
Yeah.
you don't sell coaching on social media. People need to know you. They need
Mhm.
to understand who you are. They need to believe in you. They need to have faith in your practices. So it's a very long play sort of, or sale, to say to somebody, I'd love to be your coach. And sometimes it takes a long time for them to know you and trust you enough to sign up. And that's why I have a public coaching group. People can come in as a group. They can sit down with us around the table. I limit it to 12. And we just talk about all the problems that someone might be having in their business. And they get to know the group and me. And then eventually they add more and more of my services.
Wow, that's incredible. Because you work with so many different industries and different types of business owners,
Mhm.
you have a better or more broad perspective than a lot of people do. So, given what you've seen and experienced, what's one of the biggest factors that actually creates a failure for a business?
Well, and there's several. First one is undercapitalization, which they
Mm,
can talk to you about.
yes.
Let's go over there and capitalize property properly. And then once once they're properly capitalized and they have their structure, a lot of people do these things sort of as a gut reaction, and they're not intentionally planning out all the steps of running their business or creating their widgets or whatever it is they're doing. They're actually reacting instead of planning and being proactive. So my linchpin of my business is the strategy, abiding strategy workshop. Let's get in there and figure out what you're going to do and how you're going to do it and what your goals are. And most importantly, what are your values and your mission of your company? What vision do you have for 50 years from now? Let's define that and articulate it and put it down on paper so that when the crisis comes, and it always does, we can say, okay, are we still on our mission? Are we still living to our values? Are we still pushing out our plan the way it was intended? And we make the tweaks, we adjust when we need to. But when you have that foundation, it's like putting a foundation under a tall building. The building will stand as long as the foundation is strong. The has to be a deep foundation. It has to have all those elements to it, because that unintentional work, that going off on tangents, that not following a process can cause big failures and loss of money. The other surprising thing, though, about business failure is sometimes it comes when growth is best, but you don't know how to manage that growth. Growth can be wonderful, but if you have someone out selling a lot of business for you and you don't have the backroom staff to manage it, that's going to be a problem. So people will think I'm successful, I'm making a lot of money, I'm growing, and all of a sudden they're having problems. Sometimes it's culture that causes failure, because there isn't a great culture that makes people want to stay, that people aren't really working to their full capability. There's lots of books about that I can talk about later, but there's this idea that if you take care of your people, they'll take care of your business. But that's got to be specific, and it's got to be, again, intentional. I love that you opened with the words and the talk about intentionality, because we have to do this on purpose. Success happens on purpose. And if you don't have a written plan, then all you have is a wish.
Yeah.
I always say a plan not written is just a wish. So thinking that through before you take a step or make a move can be the difference between failure or just coasting or really taking off and succeeding. You have to think it through. And our brain wants us to hurry, hurry, hurry. Our culture here in America wants us to hurry, hurry, hurry. Why stop and think? But we really need to stop and think. It's pretty important. So,
well, and I think it's so easy to have the days and the weeks go by and just be in the weeds.
Yeah.
You
How's
know?
it July already, by the way? I mean,
Yes.
how does that happen?
Right? And so getting back out of the weeds as leaders,
That's right.
so
right.
that you're in that position for a reason,
Right.
because of the vision, because you can, I went through some specialized training, and you're at the top. You got to deploy people and tools to make sure that it is working successfully. You can't be all the all
You
thing.
can't do it all yourself.
It's not possible.
Not
and do it well.
It's not possible to do it all yourself if you're a business owner. And that's where the self-awareness comes into play. So some business owners are so intent on having their hands on the process all the time that gets in their way. And teaching them how to step back and trust their team is about setting the plan in motion and having it articulated well so that their employees know what to do. And they don't have to have that fear of always having to look over their shoulder, because that's wasting your time. You need to be out doing the visionary stuff as an owner. So the more you can make that functional, put it down on paper, talk through it, do some training, and then trust your team to execute.
Yeah,
that's the key.
Absolutely. One of your recent articles really caught my attention, because while I think every entrepreneur can see themselves somewhere in this journey that we've talked about briefly this morning, you recently wrote and mentioned a moment ago about the 7 stages of a founder's business life.
Right.
Which of those stages tends to be the most difficult or the most challenging?
There's 2. The beginning and the end. So starting the business and sowing the seeds of the business, that's the first couple stages. That's the time when we either make it or we don't. We figure it out or we don't. Sometimes that takes an incredible amount of courage. We have to take the time to plan it well, so that once we get in it and it starts to get rocky, and it always does at the beginning, we know that we have the long-term plan in place. We have the support, the people around us, the right banker, the right lawyer, the right insurance person, all of that. I'll say right coach too.
Yes, absolutely.
Those things that people that they stumble over, usually they're small little pieces of gravel. They're not really great big problems, but it causes them to lose their faith in their process or in themselves. So that's one of the things. Then towards the end, it sort of sneaks up on you. All of a sudden, you're looking at your 60s and you're wondering, what do I do next? Well, you need help sometimes building a succession plan and finding the right people and everything in the middle matters too. But the beginning and the end are the times when a lot of owners find they look up and say, oh dear, I'm not ready for this. So
Yeah. We've covered so much, and you have so much wisdom to share.
thank you.
If there was one word of advice before we end our segment today, what would you tell the business owner that you have seen time and time again?
The thing I say always is don't be afraid to ask for help. Doesn't have to be me, doesn't have to be Janice, but we'd love to do that. But please ask for help when you need it. There's tons of resources out there. They're not all expensive resources. So raise your hand and we'll help you.
That's right. Now, before we wrap up, I know you're writing another book.
Yeah.
But let's start with what you've written thus far so people know about that, also where to find you. Tell them about the details.
Well, thank you. Both my books are on Amazon. The third one will be too. First one was Taking in Strays. I was advised to write what you know, and I know animals. I've had 27 or 8 animals I've had over the years. And so I wrote a book about what lessons in leadership my animals taught me. It's called Taking in Strays. And then the other one is Abiding Strategies. The business name is Abiding Strategy, but the book is Abiding Strategies. I know it's confusing sometimes, but that one is all about the strategic planning and how to build a strategic thinking business, not only from the owner's perspective, but the employees and also the plan itself and how to write it. And then Dad's book is leadership stuff about lessons my dad taught me. He passed last year, and I thought it would be a great way to sort of make a tribute to him and also a great business book because he's a wonderful leader. He's a terrific guy, and he had all these fun little sayings that I'm going to build out into leadership plans. So,
All right. Well, tell them how to find you.
I am at abidingstrategy.com. So it's Lisa at abidingstrategy.com. And my phone number, if you want it, is 850-528-2121. And I have a website. I'm on LinkedIn. So I'd love to talk to you and feel free to ask any questions you want. When I do coaching, I always do the first call at no charge. So I find out whether or not I'm the right person. And if I'm not, I have lots of people I can help refer you to. So thank you.
That's amazing. Lisa, it's been such a pleasure having you on today. And thank you for sharing about how people can find you and the success that and the steps that need to happen. It has always been a lot to me. And so, as I said, I try to go through those steps every morning before I start my day so I can be my best self for my team and
Yeah.
my community.
Yeah.
You know, we started with intentional planning and purpose for our economy, but through this conversation, we've talked about intentional leadership, intentional planning, intentional communication. So important, that communication piece,
Mhm.
and intentional investment in people. Those principles apply whether you're leading a business, a country, serving on a nonprofit board, or, managing a church, or simply your family.
Yeah.
Those are the steps that need to happen because success doesn't happen by accident. It's built on one decision at a time, one relationship at a time. So thank you for sharing your experience,
Absolutely.
your leadership, your encouragement for us. It's been an awesome time with you today.
Thank you for inviting me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. The common thread throughout today's conversation has been investing in the future and doing that with purpose. Sometimes it's business, sometimes it's investing in leadership, and sometimes it's investing in the next generation. Before we close today's program, I'd like to recognize our final Grapevine Colleyville ISD scholarship recipient for the 2025-2026 school year. Congratulations to Sophia. She did an amazing job throughout her school career, just an exceptional leader and the future of our next generation. So Sophia, on behalf of everyone at NBT Financial Bank, congratulations on this outstanding accomplishment. Your hard work, perseverance, and commitment to your education have brought you to this exciting milestone. Congratulations. And now investment takes on many forms. We've talked about some here today. Sometimes it's investing in students, sometimes it's investing in businesses, and sometimes it's investing in the community that we proudly serve. Well, our Grapevine branch, our banking center is continuing to go up and progress. The construction is going amazingly. Thank you so much to our builders, our GC, our community of Grapevine, and then our city leaders for helping us continue through the construction that we hope will actually be open just in a few weeks, the beginning to the middle of September. So be on the lookout for that. We're very excited, not only about the building, but about the relationships we're already building in Grapevine. That same commitment extends through our entire North Texas region for NBT Financial Bank. Our Hearst team recently had the pleasure of hosting our Community and Customer Appreciation Day on as a part of our celebration for America's 250th anniversary. It was a wonderful time to welcome our customers, our neighbors, our community partners, and friends for an afternoon of conversation, fellowship, and simply saying thank you. Community banking has always been built on relationships. So to everyone who stopped by to celebrate with us, thank you for your trust, and thank you for your friendship, and thank you for allowing us the privilege of serving you. Now, it's also been an exciting season through NBT Financial Bank because our Camp Bowie location just opened a few weeks ago. Congratulations to our branch president, Jason Ballou, and the entire Camp Bowie team on the recent grand opening of their beautifully renovated banking center. This new facility reflects NBT Financial's bank continued growth from our original roots in Fort Worth more than 5 decades ago, continuing investment in our customers, our employees, and the community we are privileged to serve throughout North Texas. Now, looking ahead, we're excited to continue bringing you conversations with community leaders and what's happening with our business owners, our educators, and industry experts who are helping shape North Texas. So if there's someone you would like to see on the podcast, feel free to reach out and let me know, and we'll get connected and see if it serves them to share their information through this venue. As we celebrate America's 250th anniversary, we're reminded that our freedoms we enjoy each day were secured by the courage and sacrifice of generations of men and women and their families that stood beside them. To our veterans, to those who are currently serving, and to the military families who support them, thank you. Your sacrifice and your unwavering commitment have preserved the freedoms that allow our small businesses and our communities to enjoy the privileges that we have today to pursue our dreams. Thank you for your service. Thank you for joining us on another episode of Hometown Banknotes. Whether you're a business owner, a community leader, or simply someone who cares about the future of North Texas, we appreciate you spending part of your day with us. Until next time, support your local business, take care of your neighbors, and keep building something great here together at home. I'm Janice Spooner. I'll see you next month. Thanks for joining us on Hometown Banknotes. If you liked today's episode, be sure to follow, share, and like, and show someone how to make a difference in their life by understanding what's going on in the economy, their life, and in their community.